I mostly write dark fiction, to be honest, but I do like stuff with swords. That's how I started, and then that's what I'm gonna keep writing for the foreseeable future, probably. I know you hired me because I'm like one of the two shredded authors in the
Oh yeah,
industry, but yeah, in a supportive
Requirements
way.
of being on our team. You gotta be
Yeah,
shredded and you gotta be able
yeah.
to, you gotta enjoy
I'm hiding my
fantasy.
muscles right now, but I'm shredded. Yo.
Oh yeah, and
So
we
yeah,
forgot to like kick off our stream with we hit our funding goal for everyone that probably already knows in our chat. They're saying congratulations, but I don't even know if Mario knew. We hit it like an hour ago, so we're super
yeah.
excited.
Check
Thank
if
you
she
to
knows.
everybody.
Congrats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. Yeah.
Do you want to just hop into like maybe Clay how we started creating these characters and then maybe like what Mario's taken over in terms of like the division of labor between like writing the characters? Because I know
Yeah, I
we have some
mean,
questions already on them, but
yeah. Well, to answer that question, I think what really started is, we wanted when we were building these missions, which are kind of like short stories, we wanted there to be at least one character that the user was going on these adventures with, and we wanted each mission to kind of feel varied and separate from each other. And so we kind of, well, I decided that we would have, like a cast of characters that, and at least one of them would be going on the mission with you, and we wanted each of them to feel distinct from the other. And so Mario was brought in pretty early on, when we were kind of ideating and figuring out what we wanted the
yeah, it
various
was pretty early. We
characters.
didn't really have any clue.
Yeah, and the nice thing is that Mario has a fantastic sense of humor, and he really brought that out when he was writing, some of these missions with these characters. And so, in terms of division of labor, I was primarily focusing on Captain Atwood and Lovie, and Mario was primarily focused on Syl, the weapon maker, and Malcolm, who won't be in the beginning missions, but you'll get to meet him right around level 8 or 10 or so. And then Dorian, who's the High Marshal, he was kind of the fifth character that I would say Mario and I kind of had equal time on.
Yeah, I came
So
last.
yeah, if Syl or Malcolm says anything particularly funny, Syl specifically, Mario was the one that wrote that. So he's been great to work with, and
Jingle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any
Okay, we
questions
had a
from?
few questions before. Someone asked, does it matter? Well, the people that have played the beta, a couple people are asking, like, will we only interact with certain characters depending on which path or faction that we choose? Or is it the same for everybody?
No, not at all. So everyone's going to be able to interact with all of the same characters. How the missions might play out will be a little different. There are certain missions that you may only have access to if you're of a certain path, but pretty much everyone's going to have the same amount of time with all the various characters. So we didn't want to um, bar anyone from getting to experience all the awesome cast.
Yeah, the only way we were maybe planning on splitting certain characters is when we do introduce the factions at the very end. Everyone would have like a different faction leader, but that's part of our endgame content, which we haven't started on, and it's part of our stretch goals, but it's a pretty high one. Oh, thanks for the follow. I think we got somebody new, or one of our Discord people finally followed us or something. The problem is I don't have notifications enabled, so I can't see who it is until I check the stream. So maybe this is probably a question for me and you, Clay. Which character was the most fun to like develop in terms of like creating them? Um, you probably have a different answer than I do, but
Oh gosh. Well, I would say at first it was Captain Atwood. The cool thing is that, as you write these characters more and more, and you kind of dig deeper into who they are, you can start out having one character be your favorite, and then another character ends up being your favorite later on. And so I think Captain Atwood out of the gate she was my favorite, and then it became Lovie, and then I would say currently my favorite character is Syl, but I feel like it's always changing from week to week because we're still putting some finishing touches on our missions. and hopefully maybe even add a few more before we launch.
Mario,
It's
do you have
Malcolm
a
for me,
favorite?
probably. It's Malcolm, yeah. Not by far, but I
Malcolm's your
started with
favorite?
Syl as well. Yeah, Malcolm's my favorite.
Oh, yeah,
He's
we
a
did get a
dad,
few
you know.
people saying that they liked
Yeah.
Malcolm's brother dynamic and they think that he knows something we don't know, and that's definitely true. So,
Yeah, be careful of sharing any spoilers,
Yeah,
Mario.
no worries, no worries.
but Jingles
But
is
yeah, no,
relentless right now.
I think so. Mario writes, dark fiction. I myself write dark fiction. I think that kind of lends to wanting to write kind of more complex or
Yeah,
morally
morally gray.
big
Yeah.
characters instead of just being good versus evil, which the world of Ascended kind of feels very black and white. You're the good guy and you're trying to defeat the bad guy, but as you get further into the story, it definitely is not that's not the case, and things are much more complicated. And so depending that's what I really like about this story, and how complex these characters are becoming, is because everyone could potentially have a different favorite character, which is great. It's been a lot of fun working on it.
Do we want to just, because all they got to know really was like 2 sentences for each character, do we want to just go through a little bit? I mean, we can take questions later. I know the fan favorite was definitely Syl. I think she's like, I wouldn't call Amelia spunky, but I always feel like the female lead that's got the strong personality and they're kind of quirky. Like, they always are kind of the fan favorite. So we were thinking Clay and I really like Syl. Mario likes Syl, so we thought one else would as well. But do we want to just start with like maybe a little bit more? I know you don't want to give any spoilers, but like, what is Amelia's role in the character journey, and
Amelia
what
Nussel?
does? Yeah, we described her as the admissions officer, but there's still a lot of people that might not know like what the Nexus is. Even especially people that just followed us that are listening right now. So maybe just give like a little overview of Amelia, more than what was in the latest Kickstarter post.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Amelia is the first person that you meet when you join the Nexus. And for those who don't know what the Nexus is the academy that you are training at, and you're trying to become one of Arcadia's warriors, known as the Ascended, to fight against the country of Lycos, who is all-out war hasn't started yet, but its signs are definitely looking like that might end up happening in the future. And so you meet Captain Outwood, right at the beginning, and she is very unimpressed with you. She kind of just assumes that you're going to drop out like all the other recruits she's had the misfortune of meeting over the last several weeks, and you kind of get this impression that she's a bit of a sourpuss. But as you train and you level up, you realize that her feelings on the matter are coming from a very complicated place. Her mother was one of the great Ascended who defeated the Lycos in the First War, and Amelia joined the Nexus so that she could follow in her mother's footsteps. And for the first several years while she was at the academy, she was actually stepping up and becoming that person that her mother once was. However, she maybe got a little overzealous with her ambition, and now she's currently working as admissions officer.
And who did that?
Who did that?
Who put her there? Why did he do that? Maybe we shouldn't tell.
Why
We shouldn't
did
tell. Yeah, we don't know.
Demote Amelia to admissions officer.
He can't handle a strong woman. That's what it is. Which angles? This cat is really
That may or
causing
may not
issues.
had something to do with it. For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's basically she's kind of lost that spark, that carried her through her years of her very decorated history as an Ascended with the Nexus. And your job as a user is to go on missions with her and kind of help her rediscover that her love for making a difference in the world, and help her fully realize the vision that she had for herself in the very beginning. So
Do you spend more time? I actually don't even know this. Do you spend more time with Amelia than anyone else in the story, would you say? Or is it pretty evenly divided as you progress?
yes, by sheer fact of that
She's in
she's the
charge of it.
character in the tutorial. But once you get past the tutorial, we structure the missions in a very specific way to where you have equal time with all the full cast of characters, with exception to the High Marshal. Um, it's yeah, each character is very different and distinct, and we want everyone to have equal chance to, or be able to spend equal time with all of them, because we just enjoy writing all of them.
And then they show up in each other's missions as well sometimes. Not always, but yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'll definitely have some character, multiple characters in one mission, especially in the later the story arc.
Do you want to jump over to Mario and then we'll come back to Lovi? Syl was particularly interesting for most of the people that joined our giveaway yesterday. They were commenting they really like Syl and they really want to learn more, but she had one of the shortest descriptions in that post that we did. So Mario, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what? No spoilers though.
Yeah, I'm trying to word this without spoilers, but okay. So when I'm writing characters, one thing I like to do is contrast. Like say, well, this isn't relevant for Syl, but say you have the classical idea of a very big brute who's a softie with animals, something like that. And back when Clay described Syl to me as a very regimented, maybe even slightly perfectionist. I thought it'd be fun. He already told me that he wanted her to have a sense of humor, but I like that contrast between somebody who likes everything in order, but she's also kind of a natural shit poster, and she has all this history with her sister. But I didn't want to make it like sad and tragic and all that stuff. So I really like writing her as a character because it's I just like the contracts, the juxtaposition between her being like a perfectionist and just being low key nuts, and
she's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really like the mystery surrounding her sister. Her sister who's been missing for years, and still ever the optimist. Even though everyone's insisting that her sister is most likely dead.
Yeah.
Still hasn't given up, and she's willing to break many different laws to prove that she's right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah. What's the significance of because I asked Clay this the other day, we have a lot of family situations, and I know we haven't gotten any romances yet. There's always season 2. There's basically no one that has any significant others. It's all brother, family dynamics. My mother, my family was killed, my brothers passed away, or my sister's missing. How did you, I guess, Clay, I mean, you both kind of came up with it as we progressed and got deeper into the characters arcs and their journeys, but how were you inspired, I guess, for their personal journeys to include that stuff?
Well, I think it really came down to kind of the philosophy of behind what we were trying to build was this community of people, and so bearing that in mind when we were creating this world and creating these characters of wanting basically everyone at the Nexus, whether it's another user or an NPC, to all feel like they're part of a family, or they're all working together to defeat a greater evil. I think knowing that, we just kind of ended up gravitating toward there was the first war with the Lycos 50 years ago, and everyone Arcadia kind of had to pick up the pieces afterward and kind of rebuild and get ready for if they were to ever fight again. And so you have the previous generation of people who defeated the Lycos, and then you have the next generation after that taking up the mantle of responsibility. So I think it just with the backstory on top of the community that we wanted to build, it kind of just lent itself to wanting all the characters to have these familial connections with each other, and to have that much more motivation.
There's also a significant amount of loss. It almost reminded me of a Disney movie where someone's family dies right at the beginning. Everybody's they're either lost or dead, but someone made a good point. They're oh, Lovi's my favorite because he's our, I mean, as far as the player knows, he's very friendly, easygoing. He's dealing with a lot, but he's kind of like hiding it. But he is like arguably the one that's dealt with the most loss. And they were like, I like that you have somebody that isn't just, like
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that definitely, goes to Mario's point about writing characters of
with
contrast.
contrast.
I
Yeah.
think, Lovie being this having such a sunny personality, but when you learn more about him, probably
He's
has the
just
most dramatic
masking.
out of everyone. He's it make for very interesting characters to write that you want to learn more about and spend more time with.
And it's a cliche also, but everybody reacts differently to loss, and all of the characters are dealing with something like that. But we made sure that the character arcs, don't actually repeat. Everybody goes through a different story in relation to the people they lost. So I like that as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, since we're already talking about Lovie, let's talk about him a little bit more. I don't think we actually pointed out the fact that he has a wooden practice sword. I think it just looks kind of weird. So maybe let's talk about what's going on with that, because
I mean, I
that
don't want to get into details, but let's
detail.
just
Okay.
say any detail about a character that seems a little odd, it's there for a reason. So the fact that Lovie only fights with a wooden practice sword, there's a reason for that, and it has to do with his traumatic past. And so you learn more about his reasonings for that. I think probably around level 7 or level 8 or so, I would say, around then. So that's a long-winded way of just saying I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
Plus, getting hit with a wooden sword actually hurts a lot. Like I got
Oh
hit
yeah.
in the
I
head
bet.
with a sword a
That's
couple
you've.
times.
Yeah.
Wait, when were you doing that? Were you at like a Ren fair?
You know what Buhurt, I'm not sure how to pronounce that is. It's like a full contact medieval fighting with armors and stuff like that. I did it a couple times, only with like lent armor because armor is way too expensive. But I did it a few times, and yeah, you learn the techniques with wooden swords, and just getting whacked in the head with a wooden sword still hurts a lot. You're not supposed to.
Aren't heads
That's
supposed
not
to
the
be
way
off
to happen.
limits if you're just
Uh,
practicing? You're all
when you
technically.
Yeah, if you're completely armored, nothing's off limits. You can just,
Ooh.
hit people as hard as you want, and it's amazing. You don't get hurt usually, but yeah. In
Yeah.
practice, yeah, you're just training techniques with the sword, and sometimes it happens. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm Team Lovie. I think you can absolutely knock shit out of people with a practice sword.
Well, we didn't really talk about this, but I know it doesn't really change the gameplay too much, except for I guess maybe Syl and Amelia with the onboarding. But there are certain people that are working within the Nexus that you might have a little more face time with because they're part of where you're training versus characters that are located off-site. And I put a little bit of that into Lovie's post on social media yesterday. Like you can find him hanging out in the training pits or at the tavern in Clearwater. So you kind of mentioned, Clay, that Amelia is present in the onboarding, which is pretty lengthy. But we didn't really say like, oh, Syl's the blacksmith. But outside of just the storyline, like, do you want to talk about that she like hangs out in the forge where you will be purchasing your weapons and how we might want to like expand on that in the future?
Still specifically?
Yeah, just because like we have
Yeah,
characters
yeah,
that
for sure.
work at the Nexus, and then we have characters that don't, and there's two that are. Well, I guess
Yeah.
Dorian is also in the Nexus, so it's really just Malcolm, but we will have more characters.
Yeah, I
there.
mean, I kind of mentioned this in our previous stream where because this isn't like a full-on video game, we had to take what we had access to and try to tell as much of a story as we could out of it, being our mission system and then the screens in the app itself. And so each screen is meant to represent like a very real place within the Nexus. The shop being one of them where Syl works, and so when you first meet Syl, it's not through a mission. It's when you visit the shop to, get your first weapon, and she has various dialogue options, and so when you end up going on missions with her, you're like, oh, this is the person that I buy my weapons from, and the goal is later on after we launch the app, it would be nice if we can add kind of an evolution to Syl, in the shop where she lives, as you progress more and more through the story. But to answer your question, the shop features where you can go and you can see Syl, and she'll, say certain things to you depending on, how much you piss her off.
Okay, and then we have Malcolm, which surprisingly like got quite a few, I don't want to call them votes, but like in the comments people were saying that they found him the most interesting because he's opposing the place where all the players are training at. So like I would be interested to know like, oh, am I fighting for the right side, or like what's going on? Why is he suspicious or against this area that's supposed to be like fighting the evil off? So what do you want to talk about? Is Mario mostly writing Malcolm? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you could
Play
take.
me the backstory.
Okay.
I'm writing him. I change a few things, but mostly it's Clay's story. But Malcolm has valid reasons to have beef with the Nexus, and Clay said, we don't want the story to be like good guys, bad guys. So I think he might be the most morally gray out of the four main characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And physically
his
gray.
brother, his older brother was, served as the High Marshal of the Nexus for many years, and when his brother passed away, from disease, it definitely changed Malcolm, arguably for the worse. And so, since then, he's been very vocally against, a lot of the things that the Nexus does. And as you get to know him and go on some missions with him, you get to understand, why he does the things that he does, and why he doesn't particularly like you when you first meet him as a member of the Nexus. But yeah, as Mario said, Malcolm was his favorite character at the moment, because Malcolm is a very complicated individual, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of good looking.
And
He's got a good look, so he said.
They're all good looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's really seen the full Dorian yet. He didn't get a lot of votes, but I think when he gets his final rendering, we'll get some votes from
hell yeah.
Dorian.
They'll get the
Total
full
baddie.
He's so that brings us to Dorian. I know he was listed last, and that's mostly because of his phase of artwork. He was also developed last, right? Like fully fleshed out, and I know we're working on the end.
Yes and no. I mean, the unique thing with Dorian is he's the one character that you don't personally go on missions with, and he, similar to Malcolm, who starts to get more play later in the later missions, after like level 8 or so. Dorian is very much the same way, where he kind of serves as a in the backdrop, but as you progress toward war with Lycos, Dorian, being the High Marshal of the Nexus, definitely comes to the forefront of the story later on.
We've had quite a few questions about player options. Do you want to talk about if they can like change the storyline, or how we're going to be using that, just so people are set up, we're not failing their expectations? I think we're trying to incorporate that in a way that makes sense at this stage, but for the future,
Yeah. So how we're writing the missions right now is we want to give some degree of customization with the users, but we're very limited just because of how small our team is and how limited our budget is. But we're kind of laying a foundation for later on, to where mission outcomes could, say, even if you succeeded the mission, how you succeed might look differently depending on the options that you made. And so on launch, you'll be able to, there are going to be dialogue options, and you're going to get different responses from characters depending on the option that you chose. But in terms of the ultimate outcome of the mission, that's not going to change. That's how it's going to work upon launch. But hopefully, as we see success with this app, and we're able to build a bigger team and have more resources to draw on, we definitely want to create these kind of branching paths with this story. But yeah, like I said, at launch, it's going to be much more basic.
trying to think of more questions that don't have to do with the storyline, that just have to do with the characters, and I'm kind of coming up blank. But do we want to just give like a general overview of like the rules of Arcadia? I've had a few people ask me about if there's like magic. Like, we don't have that much information because we don't have a lot of artwork. I mean, we don't have a lot of information posted, sorry, about Arcadia. You want to just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, in terms of the magic, I mean, there is magic in the world. It's called Soulfire, and it's integral to the process of ascending and becoming one of Arcadia's great warriors. There are some light sci-fi elements. I would say kind of more airing toward kind of more steampunk vibe, but it's very light. We mentioned this in this last stream where some of the inspiration was drawn from the country of Runeterra, which is based off of League of Legends. If you've seen the show Arcane, then you'll know
You're
what
like
we're talking
Arcadia.
where I mean, yeah, right. The thing is that in Arcane, the city of Zaun and Piltover, it's much more technologically advanced than what we have in mind. So that comparison only goes so far. But we want this world to be have magic, and the magic kind of takes the forefront in the world. But Syl in particular, she loves to experiment and to tinker, and so you kind of see kind of the technological advancements, especially in her missions, which Mario has some pretty creative ways of showing the technology in the world, which is pretty cool.
This isn't a question on stream, but I'm actually curious if we did do training programs, who and who would not be like, would we just use Lovi, or would they be interacting with any of the other characters?
Good question.
Because I feel like Syl could definitely hold her own with her like strength training class. Some of them are rib.
The thing is that Syl is more of like a mastermind. She why do something herself and get hurt when she could have the user do it for her instead. She's very good at manipulating.
You can't work out for other people
like that. But in terms of, I mean, my first gut answer would probably be, Captain Atwood or Lovi would be the two go-tos with the training programs. But what we would actually like to do is, after launch, because when we do the training programs, the app will have already been out for a while. Hopefully we'll have, a bigger budget to work with. It would be cool to have more characters that we can introduce. There's already a number of side characters that are in the missions, but because we don't have the budget for the art for them, you're not going to actually see them. They'll still be part of the missions, but the only art that we have so far is for the 6 characters that I mentioned. But being able to introduce more characters is definitely like
we're gonna have at least 3 of our own backers come into the story at some point because of the NPC designer, so that'd be cool. They'll have to let us know if they want to be a trainer. I'm just kidding. I think it'd be really cool to have like not a real user, but like a fellow recruit that kind of like looks the same as the player, like in terms of the outfit. Like maybe they could be like a higher rank on the ranking system, like I don't know, rather than like a side character that's relevant to the story, because they kind of have their own.
Yeah. So an example of some of the new characters that we want to bring in is the faction leaders. So
Oh, that's true.
the
Yeah.
faction feature is something that people don't really know much about, but is something that will come into play, at later levels when you do eventually ascend. And so you're going to be in one of 4 factions, which you get to choose yourself, and you'll want to join the one that your friends are a part of, because you don't get to really switch after you make that choice. But we want each faction to feel unique, and we want there to be NPCs or characters that are associated just with that faction. So you would only be able to interact with that character if you're in that faction, and not the ones outside in the other factions. Yeah.
You want to play Kiss, Marry, Kill with our characters?
Yes.
I want Mario to go first.
I'll let Mario go first.
Oh damn. So wait, so we need 3 of them. There are 4 of them, right? Okay.
There's
no.
5.
Oh, there's 5, yeah. Mm,
You're like Kiss.
okay, Kiss Dorian.
Nice.
Yeah. Mary Sill. Damn, who I killed then?
I know, I
I
don't want to
won't
kill
Malcolm,
any of
my
them,
favorite.
but that's the
But
point of the game.
I mean, yeah, I kill Malcolm, I guess, even though he's my favorite. But
Ooh.
I feel like he'd probably have a very good, very poignant last line before he died. So I was just curious about that. Okay, that's
You're
it.
helping his legacy live on.
Yeah.
Alright.
Anyways, he's a real daddy, so maybe I could switch Dorian for. I don't know. Yeah.
Go
So,
ahead, Clay. It's
Yeah.
tough. Oh, I got mine already on, ready to
who
go.
would I kiss? Who would I marry? And who would I kill? Man, I would probably kiss Syl. I would marry Captain Atwood, and I guess I would.
So you're gonna
kill-
say Lovey.
he's a close second. I would probably kill Dorian, but I wouldn't feel good about it.
You wouldn't feel good about it. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I don't feel good about killing any of these characters because they're so much
But
fun.
yeah,
Too
he has a
innocent.
French surname that helps. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Rousseau. I don't even know how to say it still. I'd kiss
Rousseau.
Dorian, marry
I'm pronouncing it
Lovey,
Rousseau, so yeah.
and kill Amelia because I don't like her attitude, even if she's nice deep down. There's only room for one
Yeah.
strong female, so and still be my best friend, but that's not an option. So I guess marriage is kind of like that. But
Yeah. Plus, if you get like car troubles, stuff like that, she can help you.
still not Lovey.
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah.
Lovey's got soft hands because he's hung up the sword the last.
Got soft hands, brother.
Well, we don't have any more questions in chat. I know the stream was like in the middle of the day. It's actually like nighttime for Mario, so we had to do it a little earlier in the day. So we don't have as many.
He's hailing from Portugal.
Yeah, we don't have as many viewers, but thanks to everybody that's watching. I don't know if you guys have anything else you wanted to cover, but kind of like the format of the short streams, but
Yeah.
it's really tricky because I thought we'd be able to talk about more, but I guess you don't really want to give too much away with the storyline since it's a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Lots of twists and turns.
Well, we'll have our next stream on our storyline in the world of Arcadia, which will be like, we won't give away too much there either, but we didn't really talk about the individual plot of each character here, so we'll have more to talk about on that stream. But yeah, thanks for everybody that's watching, and we're super excited that we hit our goal in like within a week. So now we're focused on stretch goals, which include customizing your character. And we're going to stream next Sunday at 6 instead of in the middle of the day. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Right.